once in a lifetime. She comes along and gives you love each day. Once in a lifetime. Once in a lifetime.
Is there a percentage known as to the number of people that, are trans, as far as the whole spectrum goes? You know what I mean? As far as,
okay.
If I was to, if it's like 10% of people that are trans, it wouldn't make sense to go up to everyone and say,
oh, I see.
What's your preference, or, who do you identify with? If it's 50%, I could see doing that. I mean, I'm just saying realistically, we can't expect the entire spectrum of people, to ask that as the first thing that you say when you walk up to someone.
I'm sure that there are statistics. I don't know them off the top of my head.
Do we even need this thing?
Yes.
Unfortunately, I'm not that smart. But there are statistics out
Right.
there stating approximately, what the percentage of out people is. But we still live in a society that's extremely hostile to trans people, and a lot of people stay closeted for their entire lives,
and will never be counted in that statistic because of that.
And so it's really hard to say this is it's only 10% of people. So in order to create a climate in which people can actually feel comfortable to come out and to be themselves and to identify the way that they want to identify, we have to be wary of our language, and we have to make those extra strides, ask for preferred pronouns, actually use people's preferred pronouns when they correct you,
right,
that sort of thing.
I would hope that you're at least given the benefit of the doubt once or twice, because it's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
In life,
I'm
it's
not
going to
saying
happen.
that if you mess up my pronouns once,
right,
that's over. You're a transphobe forever.
Right.
It's in the reaction when people correct you too.
Right.
Because if I'm sitting and someone calls me she or whatever, and I say, hey, my preferred pronouns are actually he, him, and you get defensive and you get all oh well, this is such a burden to me, then
right.
you guys laugh, but it's true. That's what we get told.
Yeah, no. And I don't mean to invalidate that.
No.
I'm laughing because it's because of the ridiculousness of somebody actually saying that. You know what I mean? How ridiculous is it to be what? Now I have to remember this? Well, yes, because that's what I am.
That's
legitimately
90% of society right now.
Right.
Honestly, is the idea that, I have to think about you in a way that is outside the gender binary that I'm comfortable with, so I don't want to do that.
Right.
And just showing a trans person that you're willing to make the efforts and to say, I'm sorry, I will work really hard in the future to remember your pronouns. That's a huge step forward.
Awesome. In regards to going...
So you wouldn't get offended if I mistake you for a female? No. It happens every day. I'm not very far in my medical or social transition, if you will. So, honestly, especially when people insist that some pronouns are grammatically incorrect. Yes, Sargrain, yes. There are quite a few gender-neutral pronouns, particularly the debate of they, their, them, that people tend to say, that's grammatically incorrect to refer to someone as they because they only refers to people, not a person. Mm-hmm. But Webster Dictionary already came out and was they, their, them are single pronouns. You use them a lot more than you realize to refer to a single person.
So how would that work? So I would be Alex is coming over. They are excited to come? Or
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That seems so grammatically incorrect.
Does it? I think
typically they describes
it's
a group, but I guess it could be
because you only think of it as grammatically correct when you actually know. I'm so sorry.
Mad T said I'm confused.
Yeah, that was kind of a sudden change. I was answering one question and then I started on another comment, which I apologize for. Seeing the screen, if I see it,
it's curtains.
I have to.
You could say my human friend is coming,
as opposed to your dog friend.
The thing is that when you don't know somebody, say that that you're referring to like somebody you have no idea about, like the mailman's coming, right?
Right.
Or like, you know,
Or my friend.
yeah, my friend's coming.
Yeah.
You would reply, "Oh, who are they?" You know.
Oh.
But it's only when, you know a person and you see them as a certain gender.
Right.
Then you want to say, "Oh, that's grammatically incorrect."
Right. Okay. Sour green's a hot button. I don't know what that means.
There's definitely
sour green
What
is
are you talking about?
sour green is with it. I'm saying.
Yeah.
A hot button. I don't know.
A
What
hot
that
button.
means. We're gonna start that trend.
Wow.
Instead of bae, that's my hot button.
They bring up hot button issues.
Could say my peeps are coming. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
My peeps.
that's not a pronoun though. That's a noun.
Wait, I
We
thought a
wanna
noun
talk
was a
about-
person, place, or thing.
My
Yeah. So saying my peeps, the peep is a noun, right?
I don't know. I didn't.
my cordial acquaintance.
So I mean, you could, I guess,
My professor
attempt
of
to
cool.
avoid pronouns for all eternity of knowing your gender neutral friend, or you can just
appropriately use their
use they, their, them.
right. So I would say, okay, because this is like rocking my world, and I think
Yeah.
Mad TV is.
There's a
confused.
lot of-
I mean,
Yeah.
Mad T is confused too. Let's go back to this, and I know we kind of just said it,
Sorry.
but no, it's not you. It's me. You're coming over. Somebody says, "Who's coming over?" I say, "Alex is coming over." What does Alex like to do? So I would say they like to watch movies.
Yeah.
That is so crazy to me. I feel like it goes against everything of what I learned. But
Does it?
in reality, that's according to Webster's, it's
Yeah,
correct.
that's correct. See, I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that I sort of like I grew up on LGBT sites. Like I came out with my sexuality when I was like 10 or 11 and stuff, and I've been researching ever since. So like,
Look, everybody's like shocked by it. They're like,
Oh,
"What?
really?
What? That's so weird."
Yeah, I mean, I was a very
Not you, the pronouns.
Oh, okay, never mind. So it's just been sort of really. Well, my pronouns are he, him. We're using me as sort of an example of they. You can refer to me as they as well. I won't be offended by it, but wait, what was the original question? I'm so sorry.
No.
So sorry.
No, please don't. This is ADD TV.
Um,
The original question, well, now I forget
it
too.
seems. Oh wait,
No
no, I
idea.
think I was just saying why
No
it doesn't
idea.
seem weird to me. It doesn't. No, it's not your fault, Matty Forever. Please don't apologize. I'm just a hot mess right now.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, so to me, they, their, them has always been either a singular pronoun for someone of an unidentified gender or a pronoun for a group. Like,
Okay.
it's always been like that for me. So but I never really.
You're
remember-
shocked that I'm shocked.
Yeah,
Right,
kind
right.
of. I mean, I knew it was a huge issue, obviously, because I've heard of it so much, but I guess I never really realized how odd it is for people.
Right.
Well, being that you've lived this for
Yeah.
many years now, you're more obviously
I'm glad that you're learning that.
involved.
Yes.
I mean, I think realistically, if you're going into a situation where, if I was going to introduce you with, to one of my friends, there would have to be some sort of an explanation. If I was to say they, they'd be like, well, what do you mean by they? Did he bring a friend? So, and it necessarily isn't that other person's fault for getting that confused. And so, I feel like it's important to be able to discuss that with, whoever you're introducing to, in order to make sure that, they know how to handle it, because I wouldn't want to put anyone in that situation. So yeah, man, I think it's important to, again, give someone the benefit of the doubt up front. And then at that point, if they continue to be a lunatic about it, then you'd know who not to hang out with at that point, because realistically, in 2016 planet Earth, there's a lot of people who are stuck with, black and white and, sharp lines instead of blurred lines. And I think we're transitioning, to being more open and realizing that things are more of a spectrum than more black and white. And, a lot of those things are not as closely correlated as we thought, such as, the gender that you identify with, such as the sexuality that you identify with, such as you know, how you act as far as if you're more feminine or masculine, and they're all a spectrum, and that's something that a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah, I agree. And also kind of going back to what you're saying about the pronouns and giving people the benefit of the doubt, you know, I have quite a few non-binary friends and whatnot that use they, their, them, and, you know, that's what I use in general conversation when talking about them. So I feel like that's also, too, a part of it is just getting the people around you accustomed to that sort of idea.
I would use those pronouns. I'm just typically not in situations where it applies. But if I was, then I would be, you know, sensitive towards it and definitely, you know.
And it doesn't need to be trans specific, right? I could say about Brandon, you could be asking, oh, who's coming? What are you doing tonight? Oh, Brandon's coming over. Oh, what does he like to do? They like to watch movies. Or does it only apply to trans?
No, it definitely doesn't always apply to trans. Like, those are pronouns that I think, you know, especially if you aren't sure about how they identify, them is always a safe bet.
Got you. Okay.
But I always like to throw in, like, we do use it as a singular pronoun too, because, you know, when we don't know a person, when we don't even know their name or anything like that, or what their gender is, we do use it. So, no, it's not a trans-specific thing. I think just the conversation around it is.
Right.
Because it's non-binary genders, you know, gender-neutral, androgynous people who are, like, saying, hey, this is the pronouns that you should always use, regardless of how I'm presenting. And that's the actual struggle.
Okay. That makes sense. There are, you know, kids in the world today, there is starting to become a change for the positive. Target no longer has a boys' toy section and a girls' toy section. Now they just have toys. And there was another major chain that just did that as well. There's a positive transformation happening where gender binaries are no longer important. So, because at the end of the day, there's 100 million kids like you that played with trucks instead of Barbies. And that, you know, I remember when I was a kid and I got stuck, we were playing The Legend of Zelda, basically the cosplay version, which is like really weird. And I got stuck being Zelda. And I was like, at the time, I was like, you know, oh, of course I get picked for Zelda or whatever. But at the end of the day, I mean, it didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was just a character that I don't even know what the heck Zelda does. But
I feel like they're correlated spectrums, but it's a different spectrum as far as what you identify with sexually, what you identify with as far as masculine and feminine. You could be biologically a male who identifies as male, who is heterosexual but likes to play with Barbies, you know.
Yeah.
And who is more feminine as far as how they act, but they're a male who's... So, again, that's a different spectrum as far as...
Yeah.
You know, like we talked about earlier, being a male who likes to play sports. Oh, that's masculine compared to being a male who likes to
draw,
do makeup, or do hair, where, you know, they identify as male, biologically male, heterosexual, but they like to listen to Britney Spears and... you know, do nails, do manicures. You know what I mean?
Why is listening to Britney Spears feminine?
I mean, again, that's a spectrum as well. If you look at the numbers, maybe it's more leaning towards feminine. Maybe I don't know. Britney Spears.
I think what you're trying to get at is the fact that the way that we present, the way that we sort of play at gender, doesn't actually is not associated with our gender identity.
Right. Exactly.
Which is true.
Yeah. It's exactly my point. I mean, they're different spectrums. I feel like they're correlated, but they're different spectrums.
But they're really not correlated, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're interrelated in certain ways, but they're not. It's not black and white. I mean, it's different spectrums, different scales.
So how are they correlated?
Well, a lot of it, in my opinion, has to do with how you feel comfortable presenting yourself towards other people. You know, you do what you can do every day to be happy, and that comes down to, you know, validating yourself, how you feel about yourself, and the things that you want to do in order to, you know, present yourself a certain way. And we all do that constantly. And so I think these are topics that people are uncomfortable talking about. Even introducing the idea to people that, you know, you don't have to, you can be whatever you want, and it's not limited to, you know, the gender that you were given at birth, and it's not limited to, obviously, and specifically, it shouldn't be limited to society's rules, because, you know, in my opinion, they should be progressing and expanding and bringing people together rather than sharpening the lines.
Yeah.
And,
So, going back to sex, is...
Of course.
So, you know
course.
me. So, can you be a trans male and like boys?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
So, you know, if I say, like, I'm gay for Aaron to be, that would be me expressing...
Who is
that? If anybody watched Grease Live on Sunday...
I saw all your posts about it, but I didn't actually watch it.
The guy who played Danny Zuko, I adore him. So, he's all... I'm getting hearts for that. Yes! Grease Live fans in the house. But, yeah, so I would say, because I identify as male, and I'm if I'm attracted to guys, I would say that I was gay.
Right.
Sort of, if that makes sense.
Yes,
So,
I was actually going to ask that, but I didn't know if that was considered offensive. I was going to ask
No.
it anyway, so you could tell me.
Yeah, no.
But-
Okay.
So a trans male who likes boys.
Is gay.
Gotcha. I mean, that's easy enough.
right.
Or bi or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, and a trans woman who likes women is a lesbian. You know, and I think
Right.
that people tend to get confused by that because they want to see people as the
Their-
gender that they're assigned,
Right.
rather than the gender that they identify with.
And that's how they're correlated, but they're different spectrums.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, some trans men are straight, and some trans women are straight, and they're, you know, like,
All
straight
over the
trans, trans men like women, straight trans women like men, that sort of thing. And I think also the correlation between sexuality and gender also has to do with the fact that they're both so heavily marginalized
Right.
when you go outside of society's norms. So, you know, we kind of both, even for like straight trans people are part of like the LGBT community in that sort of
Right.
sense as well.
Right.
Right.
Mad Forever says, do you find that Caitlyn Jenner doesn't make sense with some of her views?
Definitely.
Me too.
I think what the fact that Caitlyn Jenner has had a spotlight on her since the very beginning of her transition. She's very new to the community. So, you know, being raised in like a hyper masculine society, you know, and living as, you know, a male in that society for so long and not being aware of the LGBT community and whatnot makes her not as aware of the issues that we face. And I think that over time, as she continues on in her transition, as she meets with other people within our community and whatnot, then her views will probably change. Definitely, we all have our journeys, and we all start out, you know, with very preconceived notions of things, and particularly within our politics. So that's kind of why I try not to judge Caitlyn Jenner as harshly for her political views, because I feel like they're still born because she hasn't had the experience. She hasn't been within our community for long.
Right. Yeah, and she, Mad said, I found her to be confusing on Ellen, and I think that's absolutely right. Is, you know, at the end of the day, it's almost still an internalized transphobia.
Yeah, definitely. And we all have those, you know, when you come from sort of, or is it afraid to totally commit? No, I don't think it's that. I think it's really just exposure-wise. You know,
I think she's committed at this point.
I think it's more she hasn't had the time to sort of work through her internalized transphobia and homophobia that we all have because of the society that we're raised in.
Right.
And without that experience, she ends up saying things that come off as bigoted, that comes off as uneducated, because, I mean, she is kind of uneducated.
Yeah. And she's essentially voting against her own self-interest. You know what I mean? in many ways, or speaking out against her in some
Yeah,
cases.
and I just think that right now she's just not aware of that because she hasn't had a lot of time talking with people within our community, or, you know, actually paying attention, reading up on the issues and that sort of thing. Like, she hasn't been involved with that, and she's still very new in her transition. So as time goes on, I think she will become more aware. I think her politics will change. It's just hard because she's literally growing up. You know, she's literally becoming herself in front of
The world.
Yeah. So she's gonna make mistakes, and she's gonna, you know, say things. We all have our learning journeys.
Mad said, I just think it's crazy that she would even feel that way, and I completely agree.
It does seem like that, but, you know, when you have been thinking a certain way for, you know, so long, like a whole portion of your life, it takes a lot to sort of rewire that. I do agree she should be understanding, but again, it's everybody learns at different
Comes
paces.
in their own
way,
or comes to terms in their own
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
Forgot the to terms part. Anything else before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've learned 20 times more than I've ever known about this topic in the past hour.
That's awesome.
So it was it was great for me to just listen and you know, take in a lot of information that I've never thought about. You know, you think about it from time to time, but this really enabled me to kind of understand the complexities of how exhausting it is, you know, dealing with social norms, dealing with, you know, being comfortable in your own skin, which we all deal with every day of our lives, whether we admit it or not. And there's a lot that plays into that, especially if you're in a category that isn't in the social norm. It has to be exhausting every day. I'm exhausted talking about it or listening to it for the past hour, let alone living it. And so hopefully as we progress, you know, people can be more understanding. And I think, you know, if I could hope for anything, it would be for people in your situation to understand that people that judge, people that say stupid things, it's because they're uninformed, and I know you know that. And, you know, sometimes, you know, if someone with a child mentality about the situation comes up and says something stupid to you, if anything, look down on them rather than being offended by them. Don't give them the energy of being offended by that person who is clearly uneducated, and because it has to be exhausting. I mean, it's to constantly have to go through that on a daily basis because of society.
Yeah, and I think that it's very easy to tell when someone says something because they're uneducated, and when someone says something because they're trying to be intentionally offensive.
Right.
So there's definitely an easy way to see it, and I think that's why it's always been really important to me, you know, coming out both in terms of like my sexuality and in terms of my gender too.
Mad said, or give them a good smack.
Yeah, in certain cases sometimes, but to answer these questions and to, you know, spend the time to talk about this, because I think a lot of it is just from, you know, not having the resources to learn about this.
Exactly. And that's why I wanted to do this.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to say before we wrap up?
I love answering questions, and, you know, if there's anything that we didn't cover that you're still kind of like wondering about, you can hit me up on my Twitter at AlexWestIngram, and hopefully we can do some more of these.
Yes, this is awesome. So to wrap up, you guys are absolutely amazing, the viewers. I mean, we don't have a show without you. We really, really, really don't. Your questions, your comments, your love that you give us every single show, and they're loving you.
Welcome.
Thanks for the info, Alex. Thanks for the great information. You guys are awesome.
You are so welcome, guys.
I've talked about this a million times. The reason that I want to do Kyle2U is because I want to use my platform to make a difference. And if that reaches one person and they can get a little bit more information, including myself, than we had before about a topic like this, then it's all worth it. I met Alex a couple years ago, and this is no offense to you. It's going to be a compliment, so bear with me. Before Alex came out. Is
Yes.
that the word? Before Alex came out as a trans male, I was transphobic. I'm generally an open person, and I think everybody knows that. But I had trans people were kind of like the last taboo. You know what I mean?
I concur, and I felt the same way.
Yeah, and I would make a tranny joke or a Caitlyn Jenner joke. I still defended Caitlyn Jenner because at the end of the day, I completely believed in her right to live as how she feels. However, I would pass along a Caitlyn Jenner joke or whatever. As you came out as trans, I was like, wait a second, here's a real person that I care about that has been going through this his whole life. And it's no longer a joke, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as you began to educate me on all of these things and continue to educate me on all of these things, it made it human for me. And I know that it's made it human for some of you watching out here because Alex is an amazing person and so brave to come and talk to all of us about this and answer questions that are unedited, as you guys have done, which we do on purpose because we want to know what you think. It's the only way. Conversations like these are the only way to continue to move forward and progress and be more loving and, get through this life on this gigantic rock that we all share together called Earth. So thank you, Brandon, as always. Thank you, Alex, as always. Thank all of you, as always. We love you. Subscribe right here for YouTube podcast. We love you. The unedited version, the long version is on the podcast. The shorter, more succinct version is on the YouTube. And peace. Love you guys.
Bye.
You.